right, today, guys, I got a good friend of mine, Adam McChesney, here for us. Adam is the founder of Builders of Authority. Adam, how's it going, man?
Good, Monica. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely great to have you here, brother. So you have been on a rocket ship, and I know you got an oxygen tank aboard. It's been a very smooth ride since you guys launched the agency back in October. Could you give me some fast facts about the agency, how big you guys are, what kind of revenue you guys are doing?
Yeah, so we're recording right now in February. In January, we just hit 115,000 in top line revenue. Hit about 100. We're right at 100K a month in MRR, which has been awesome. Have about 40 clients, 8 full-time team members right now. Bringing on 2 more here this month, and relaunched the agency back in October, and it's really been kind of chaos, I would say, more than a rocket ship ever since. But good chaos.
Organized chaos.
Yes.
And you know, a lot of people say there's not a lot of problems more revenue can't solve. And so I'm sure that 100K a month of recurring is making a lot of that chaos easier. So I don't know many people that have scaled to 7 figures that fast. What's the secret? What's the sauce?
Yeah, so I ran my own agency back in 2020 and grew that first agency to 7 figures in 15 months. Then I became a franchisee of another agency, grew that to 200,000 in December of 2022. Then became a partner of an agency for about 6 or 7 months before I ended up exiting that last year. And so I took some time off and built Builders of Authority, which kind of had initially started as a group coaching and mastermind community, teaching people how to build their business with their personal and business brands. And over the course of that time, I wasn't doing anything. So people started to find out what was going on, and they wanted to work with me on the digital agency side because I had built that personal brand and because I've created so much content over the years. So we almost had, like, honestly, a waiting list of people that were like, hey, Adam, whenever you have the green light to go start this thing, like, sign us up. And it was one of those things where the more and more I could start to talk about it again, and the more and more people started to find out, they were like, we always wanted to be in business with Adam. So people that hadn't worked with me before for one reason or another were like, Adam's doing his own thing again. Like, we want to sign up. But I think, honestly, it goes to kind of back what we were talking about before this, a little bit about just doing things the right way and operating at a very, very high level with ethics and core values inside of a digital marketing agency. It's common knowledge to a lot of people, but not often practiced.
Totally. And so what you described really can't be commoditized. I mean, it's really about who you are, your values, your ethos, the way you've shown up and built your brand and your story. What were, like, in that journey for you? I know that's gone on over the course of many years and had, like, many dimensions. What were the inflection points there?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to, like, when I got started and went full-time in July 2020. I got started back in 2018 as digital marketing as a side hustle through Rank and Rent. And so I had built 200 websites before I went full-time. So very few people have built 200 websites in general, much less done it and basically not really charged anybody for it. I was more so consumed with building a skill set, my knowledge of SEO, Google Business Profile, all of that stuff. So I lost money for 2 straight years while doing this on the side because I wanted to set myself up for success when I went full-time. Now, when I went full-time, I thought, oh, hey, now that I can focus on this, and go all in, I'm just going to grow this thing to the moon because I have a sales background and I built 200 websites. And then the first month after going full-time, I sold $0 in revenue. So I'm like, okay, I just left a corporate job making $200,000 a year in medical device sales at an incredible company. Like, what did I just do to myself? And so in that, I learned in August of 2020 through a mastermind program that I'm still a part of to this day, the power of personal branding and becoming, basically the authority, quote unquote. And so since then, I've posted every single day on Facebook for the most part, other than maybe 5 or 10 days in the last 5 years. So I've just been super, super consistent. But I talk to people a lot of times that I'm not going to say like I'm a unicorn, because I think that's a little bit cheesy, but I have the sales and branding background from being in medical device sales, but I also know to a very, very high level all of the things about SEO and building a website. So
Right.
it allows me to be super effective in bringing on the right clients. But I know so many agency owners, and some of them are my friends, where they sell something and then they go and they try to fulfill on it. And I couldn't even like get on a call with them and be like, hey, where do you know, what's alt text or what's an interlink? Like they just don't know. Right. But they're really good at selling the thing. Whereas I can actually do a little bit of both.
Totally. So because you said earlier, you said doing things the right way. Doing them the right way often comes after doing them the wrong way. And so building those 200 sites, that was you know, cutting your teeth, figuring it out. And I admire that because I do see a lot of people that have the sales first mentality without really any trade craft. They don't really understand the product they're selling. And then they end up taking clients' funds and not really being able to do anything good for them.
Oh yeah.
So it's awesome. And I think after obviously building and starting, like it sounds like 3 or participating in or growing 3 or 4 agencies along the way, you know, you compress what first took you 15 months into 3 months,
Yeah.
which is amazing. What do you think if you go back and talk to yourself back when you were doing your first agency, what would be like the key ideas you would put into your brain to incept yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think again, everybody talks about like the numbers you want to be going after of like hitting that 7-figure agency and doing all those different things. And when I grew my first agency to 7 figures, all these mentors and like I use mentors loosely, but all the people that I was surrounded with, they were like, you got to get to 7 figures. You got to get to 7 figures. And then I got there in 15 months, which hit 15 months, which was super quick. But I'm like, oh my gosh, why was I so fixated on doing this? Because to be honest, like it's not like some shiny award comes and then all of your problems just go away as if you have enough money to tackle everything. You know, it is nice to have more money in the agency, but then you got to hire more people. Usually more money and clients means more problems. And so I think I would go back to myself is just to follow like why you got started and to never sell your soul or do anything to just get money in the door. There's bad clients, there's bad partners, there's bad a lot of different stuff that's out there. And so if you listen and consume all of the information from all of the people that have probably like, I want to say like bad motives, then you are going to let that consume what you're physically doing for yourself and for your business.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's hard to channel and keep that ethos with you along the way because you know because everyone wants to grow, right? No one wants to stay the same size, but the truth is that as agencies scale, they become less profitable as they get larger because that net new add one additional employee is being managed not as well. The SOPs are usually just not there. You can't have all the SOPs for everything all dialed in, and so agencies, just as they scale, become less efficient and less effective. Um, as like obviously a lot of things have shifted since you know, over the last 5 years or so in terms of what technology can do in the landscape. Maybe this is a good pivot point to talk kind of about your tech stack and how you've been able to keep the agency efficient as it's been able to scale. Kind of what software tools have you been built on, and how are they helping you get more efficient over time?
Yeah. So, and I made a YouTube video about this a couple weeks ago. So obviously we have Search Atlas and OTTO. We have What Converts. So What Converts is a big one that we're getting all of our clients in, tracking every single contact form lead that comes into the website or the Google Business Profile. We have GHL. We have Slack for internal team communication and some external stuff with clients. And then we have ClickUp from a project management standpoint. So those are kind of like the 5 main things that we run and utilize every single day. I'd say where all of this stuff kind of comes in and ties together is now with Search Atlas, we kind of have one tool to audit a prospect and then show them the roadmap of everything through, and it's in that same system, right? So like before, we were having to basically piecemeal a bunch of stuff together and all these outside reports, and so it gets a little bit wonky. But also, like marketers, as you know, are notorious for using one tool to sell somebody. And then all of a sudden they have this other tool that they can manipulate to say, oh, hey, Monik, you signed up with me in 30 days. Your business should be booming. but in reality, they're two different reports showing two different things. So a lot of the technology that has obviously came in from the agency standpoint, it's impactful if utilized and done the right way.
Yeah, and actually, Adam, you guys were, I think, some of the first people to even get your hands on auto when we had an alpha, which was last year in April. I think I reached out to you, was like, "Yo, Adam, I want you to try this." Do you remember that when I reached out to you?
Yeah.
Uh, and like, what was your impression? Obviously, the product has evolved and come a long way, but you, I think, produced some of the first case studies that we ever got with your auto glass company, and I believe it's St. Louis, Missouri, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, of those initial 200 websites that I originally launched, a couple of those we've turned into actual businesses. The Auto Glass Company being the first one of those that we launched back in 2021. And so, a lot of the initial use for me on Search Atlas and Auto, because I was exiting the other agency and couldn't run a digital marketing agency, I was building my own websites and just testing a bunch of stuff out, knowing that I was eventually going to relaunch an agency. So, there's a common theme of like, always practicing the craft, even if you're not in a moment or a season where it might be possible to actually sell the craft or do whatever, right? A little bit different of a instance than most people. But I tested out that with our auto glass company, with our Christmas light companies, with our landscape design business, and was just fascinated by, again, from a sales standpoint of having this tool that is unique and that is different, that will help you not just sell, but also fulfill and manage the client along the way. And then with that, having the ability to then go and reduce the overall workload that you would have to do based on a single client, leveraging AI and technology to be able to get more done the right way without having to worry about having more employees. Like, we're going to have 10 employees this month, but if we didn't have auto and Search Atlas, who knows what that number would actually be at to reach the numbers of what we're trying to go and do.
Yeah, so many awesome things there that I want to double click on and unpack, including like the pod structure of your team. Like, what does that look like to fulfill also your sales process? What tools are you using, and what have you found to be effective to get the prospect to understand the opportunity and present it in the right way? And then, third, also just to talk about what was it like just in the first couple of weeks of using auto? What surprised you? What did you learn? Why don't we start with that one, which is like just getting in there for the first time. You said you have this like light bulb moment where you were like kind of unpacking all the things that you could now do with fulfillment. What surprised you the most?
I think just how simple and easy it was to go and do the things that used to take us hours and hours to do with a couple of clicks of a button. And so, like, that tracker that says, hey, for our auto glass company, you've done almost 600 days worth of SEO over the last 9 months, is kind of a aha moment of doing things again the right way, not cutting corners, not skipping steps, not doing whatever, but how long it takes to do this stuff really, really well if you go and do it by hand. So, I think that was a light bulb moment for me. But again, my sales brain kind of clicked on, oh my gosh, we can sell this as a unique differentiator based on why people are signing up with us, and go add that to our already existing really quality foundation of the offer itself.
Right. And behind the recommendations in auto, when you hit deploy on something, we have a huge team of the best SEO professionals in the world. Literally the best SEO minds in the world. Guys like Armand on the team, gals like Laura Cardona and Aaron and Eduardo, and the massive engineering force that we have of over 50 people. The one North Star we have is we got to be able to get this website ranking, get this Google My Business profile ranking. So all our team does is we're running experiments and tests and figuring things out. And when we do, we always update and improve upon auto. It's not like it's a finished product ever. It's like a constant work in progress of evolution, making it more powerful. And so that when you take our product and you're implementing it on a client, you're actually taking something that's evolving with the times and improving with the times, and is always trying to find new areas of opportunity, new things that we didn't learn or know to explore, and implement that now across at scale all your clients. And you don't really need to retrain your SEO department on this new strategy, it's just a new button inside Auto that you can just hit deploy on. So hopefully, do you feel like that helps you get more confident when you're taking on a new client that you're going to be able to get them results?
Absolutely right. And I think it helps out to like the agency owner that's listening, that's like, hey, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing in terms of the SEO strategy or all of that stuff. Like, I would say it's super important for me knowing what you guys are all doing and having seen that over the last couple of months to a year. But I think it's even more important for the person that maybe just getting into digital marketing, or maybe they're doing SEO and they're a marketing manager inside of another company. Like, I'm a huge advocate of Search Atlas, and I've had quite a few people that are inside of a company wearing the marketing hat that have signed up for Search Atlas for their own company website and been like, Adam, this is absolutely incredible. They don't have to go and be an SEO expert, or a new agency owner doesn't have to go and like know all of the bells and whistles. You know enough to be dangerous to know that it's done the right way or not the right way from what the information is spitting out. But you don't have to have the same learning curve that I went through back in 2018, where I had to build 200 websites and basically make no money for 2 years.
Totally. Yeah. Getting the postdoc in SEO is not glamorous. Getting your over 1,000 hours of time, probably even more for you to build those 200 sites. You probably must have spent at least like probably 3,000 hours, maybe even more than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's a lot of like probably spaghetti against the wall to see like, hey, if I do this, does the Google My Business, does it rank better? Does the website get more traffic?
Yeah.
And not everything works. I like at least 30 to 50% of the experiments don't land.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, that's just all sunk cost unless you can find ones that do and then improve your SOPs or your process. And, inside Auto, I think that's the goal, is like our goal was to kill that SOP.
Yes.
And automate everything from discovering the issue to deploying it. So tell me about the sales process. Like what are you showing the prospects? How are you getting them to understand like the issues, the opportunity? Like, can you walk me through that?
Yeah. So typically what happens is, right, so most of our interest is coming inbound, right? So somebody's raising their hand and saying, hey, Adam, I'm interested in working with you all. So typically right now we're getting between 5 and 10 new leads for our agency every single day. Now, again, not all of them are qualified, but we're literally getting 5 to 10 new leads a day, most of the time coming in from my personal brand, social media, referrals from clients, etc. So what we do before we even hop on that initial discovery call with that client is we put together a 4 to 5 minute audit video where we go over their existing website. So we'll talk about some like foundational things like, hey, here's what your meta title and meta description is, or, you're on a GoDaddy website. You really need to, probably level up and do something with WordPress. You have all these issues with, your headers. And typically we look at like the homepage and don't get into all of the details on every other page. But then we also talk about some like aesthetic things, like, do you have a contact form on your homepage? Is there anywhere for people to fill out their information on the website? So we highlight that kind of as the first aspect of it. Then what we do is we go and put their URL inside of Search Atlas. So we say, hey, here is where everything is at with your domain power. Here's how many backlinks you have. Here's how many keywords you're ranking for. Here is the quality or the effectiveness of those keywords with the overall traffic. Then what we do is we go to basically their heat map. So we create a heat map for them inside of Search Atlas and say, hey, for roofer St. Louis or roofer near me, here's where your Google business profile is currently ranking. And then I go in and I'll go to the first page of Google and type in roofing St. Louis. And then I'll pull up 4 to 5 of their competitors and just highlight, hey, here's the competitors that are populating ahead. And so typically that's like the light bulb moment for them of like, Adam knows what I've been trying to do for years, and I want to beat all of those companies out on Google. And then what we do is we show 2 different case studies in their industry. Typically, if we have clients in their industry, what we'll do is we'll show Search Atlas before and after of a client. So for example, like I have a roofing client where we took them from 1,500 keywords to 3,000 keywords in 90 days. So I'll go say, hey, here's where we started with them in October. Here's where they were at the end of December. and there's that hockey stick curve, right? Where you're in a similar spot or usually even way worse than that. And then I'll go show them what converts in our leads dashboard to be able to say, hey, here's like, it's great to see all the data and the clicks and all that stuff, but in the rankings, but here's what it's actually getting them.
Right.
And we
This is
send
what
that
it feels
video,
like.
exactly. We send that video over to them. So then that way they get everything over there before they would hop on a call with us.
Amazing. So all that is actually part of the pre-sale call.
Yes, correct. Yep.
And that's interesting. I don't know a lot of people that do it that way, but that's really cool. And how many of them will actually like watch the video and then join your call? I guess because they follow you, they're in your orbit with your brand.
Yep.
They're probably like, look, I want to work with Adam. That's why I'm here.
Yep.
What was your thought process on doing that pre-sale Loom video?
So we're at this, like the luxury of the spot of not needing to work with every single client and having too many leads, honestly, to be able to begin with anyway. And so what I found is I was hopping on so many calls with people that were just looking for a price. They were looking for, something to work and happen yesterday. There was so many different things happening that it wasn't fruitful for me to get on those calls. And so we then, I have a new employee, Aura. So she's our client experience manager. So she handles now our discovery calls as well. Well, I was booked out a week. Now she's booked out a week. So it's like, hey, if you're not willing to watch a 4 or 5 minute video that will answer a lot of the questions before we even hop on the call, then you're probably not going to be a good fit for a client because this is free information for you. So we just noticed that the people that either A, didn't watch those videos, or B, were interested in just getting a price were typically some of the people that we were wasting our time with when we ended up getting on that call anyway.
Makes sense. Yeah, they're the worst prospects.
Yes.
And so you get to filter them out and save some time there. That's good. And in that sales process where you're kind of walking them through that story, you start with the Site Explorer, you're showing them their data in the Site Explorer, you're looking at their backlinks, their domain power. You then go to the local SEO heat map, show them the ranking, show them the competitors, and you actually take it home to Google to the actual keyword search. And I think that's really smart because that really shows them actually what we're optimizing. Like it's something tangible, it's something real, it's something that they're also accustomed to. We do the same thing in our sales calls is we'll always plug in the keywords and we'll look at the rankings so that they can really associate what we're trying to do with the result. We're like, okay, you're here, we're going to move you up to here. Where in that sales process do you feel like things really start to click for the client? Is it in the heat maps? Is it in the Site Explorer? Does it vary depending on the client and what they need to see in order to buy?
I'd say it varies depending upon the client, but typically, like anytime you show the heat map and talk about their competition, right? They all know who those competitors are 99% of the time. So most business owners are visionaries who are very competitive and want to grow and scale. So it kind of hits their heartstrings, right? Where you're literally highlighting something that they already know, right? And so when you are able to show that in a video, but also start out by being helpful, right? I think it kind of ties everything together.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. And so you touched on like some of the team that's behind you. Obviously, it's like no one man can handle that many leads as well as handle all the fulfillment. So what's your team look like and who's backing you up?
Yeah, so we have 8 full-time team members right now. We have our digital marketing manager, director of digital marketing that kind of oversees a little bit of everything. And as it relates to our websites, our PPC, our Facebook ads, and our SEO. And then we just brought on an SEO specialist today that's going to kind of oversee a lot of that stuff because I'm handling some of the SEO stuff still. And then we have a full-time content specialist that kind of is the one that's doing a lot of stuff from a fulfillment standpoint inside of Search Atlas and OTTO. But we also have, some people outside of just the SEO stuff. I have an executive assistant. I have a brand and social media manager. We have a COO. And then we have a client experience manager that is meeting with our clients.
Cool. And so the team that's actually using Search Atlas, when you're in there, right, to do your sales and prospecting, so that you use those tools. And by the way, this is all white labeled, right?
Yes, inside of Search Atlas. Yes.
Right. So when these prospects are looking at the reports and the data, they're not actually, they don't know it's Search Atlas. All they see is they see your brand and your story front and center, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Do you,
exactly.
you feel like that helps get the prospect in? Do you feel like it increases the close rate?
So I would say like yes, but even more so on like the back end of everything, right? So for example, like we'll send out some reports and do some stuff and we basically share stuff coming from there. So it's awesome because they can see our branding all of the time. Now, I tell people all the time, right? And that this is where I think it's one of the biggest, I'm not going to say separators behind like what we do, but I'm very, very transparent and authentic with our clients to say, hey, we are literally using Search Atlas. For example, on our leads dashboard, it's leads.buildauthority.co. That comes from What Converts. I do that so that way they're educated. And because a lot of people are just white labeling or reselling GHL and saying, hey, I'm a tech expert, right? Or whatever the platform is out there. Part of what makes builders of authority and has allowed us to scale so quickly is people realize that they can go do everything that we're doing for them. They can go figure out a way to do it, but we're going to be able to do it quicker, faster, stronger, and more effectively to get them a higher return on investment. So I'd rather have them know the information and then come to pay us for the actual implementation.
But that's actually smart. So yeah, because if they go and they do their own research, right? You learn about Search Atlas, you learn about the products, the features, or even GHL. You realize there's actually a learning curve, right? There's a lot to learn here,
Yes.
and to fully wrap your arms around the entire thing, you gotta really get a good amount of time in there to get your reps. How long did it take you to figure out auto when you first got in there?
So, I mean, to me, to be completely honest, it happened pretty quickly because I had been watching a bunch of content. And then from there, being able to see all of this stuff that I saw from a lot of other SEO tools that were out there from just like Search Atlas and using, Ahrefs and SEMrush. But when it came to auto, it was like, okay, this all makes sense. I would say like it took a couple weeks to get super, super comfortable with it. But in all reality, it was one of those things that it was just like, oh, once I saw it, it just made a lot of sense. And so it was more about repetition from there than anything else.
Okay. And what about for the new team members, like the SEO specialist you hired today? How long do you think it's going to take for him or her to get ramped up with the platform?
I'd say about like so he's never used it. So I'd say about 30 days from being like super, super consistent with it. But I mean, that's to basically have us not even have to worry about what he's doing and how he's doing it. So typically about 30 days.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds about right. We're trying to bring that number down with some new trainings. So obviously there's like the auto 30-day SOP. Do you use that with your team?
We do. Yeah, yeah. It's super effective.
Yeah, so we have the auto 30-day SOP. We've also got a new course we're launching hopefully today or tomorrow, which is a full tutorial on how to use auto. So if you've got your team member, you just give them that course, let them watch the videos. It'll take them probably about 2 hours, and they'll understand all the modules A to Z, how they work, 10-minute, 15-minute long videos that go into each one in depth. And so hopefully that time can even come down faster. But there is part of it where you can't just watch the videos and get the theoretical knowledge. You got to actually do it with the business and
Yeah.
implement it to really understand how the system works. Uh, and then talk to me about like cadence for like how soon you guys have seen results after implementing it. What's like the fastest you've seen and like what's like the average?
I would say like the fastest is typically around 60 days where we can start to see also the upward hockey stick in a lot of stuff. Cause obviously like you're implementing 1 month and then the next month you see the results happen from the keyword rankings and then the traffic and all of that stuff. But I would say like on average, typically like 90 days to 120 days of like exponential growth where you're like, okay, hey, this stuff is all coming together. So like 60 days in terms of like where you're feeling it and seeing it as the quickest, but then typically around that 90-day mark is pretty typical.
Okay. And the business owners, what's it like put me in their shoes. What's their experience of that 60-day mark? What are they noticing?
Yeah, I mean, so like it depends on, and this is really big about like selling SEO and then managing SEO is setting the key expectations. So for example, that roofing company that I talked to you about earlier today, I share that as a case study when I'm talking with other roofers. And we have other roofing companies where it's like, hey, they come in and they start working with us, and prior to working with us, they're ranking for like 50 keywords. So us comparing somebody that's ranking for 50 keywords with somebody that's ranking for 1,500, we have to basically set the right expectations. So from that standpoint, right, to be able to see the growth of like doubling. So we were able to double that one company from 1,500 to 3,000 in about 90 days. But if that other company, if we're able to go from 50 to 100, then 100 to 200, 200 to 400, that's more what that progression looks like. And so it's also about being able to correlate the influx of lead flow with that as well, which is why we use that call tracking and stuff with what converts to be able to mirror, hey, this is what's happening over here with Search Atlas and Auto, and this is where you're seeing the growth over here.
Yeah. So the what converts piece of it is actually bringing it to like a tangible business ROI.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what was that like for your auto glass company? Like what was the uptick in calls?
So we increased, like we doubled call volume year over year. I think it ended up being about 30,000 a month in new revenue that we accomplished month over month. When we are sorry, year over year to that month when we started. And so we did an additional about 250,000 in revenue last year, with May being kind of the first month that we started to see results from some of the stuff with Search Atlas.
Awesome. Because you implemented in April, right?
Yes.
And post like May, like what's happened to those sites? Because it's now been about like 9 months or so since then.
Yeah.
So what's the story? Like have they stayed elevated? Have they continued to rise and grow and rank better over time?
Yeah, so it's continued to rise. Like we reached a peak where I think we were getting like $70,000 a month in organic traffic value on the auto glass company. Right now, I think we're at like close to 50, but we're ranking for over 100 keywords right now. Number one for auto glass specific keywords in and around the St. Louis area, with about 14 to 1,500 overall keywords right now.
So I think I remember how much you're spending like per auto site, but I think you guys are now like on the enterprise plan, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
we have a lot.
you have a lot in there. So the ROI, for like, I don't know, what is like $50 a month or something that you're spending
Yeah.
per site to generate, 40, 50, $60,000 a month in revenue. I don't know what that number is, but it seems like a pretty big percentage. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree.
All right, good. Yeah, that's the way it should be. Awesome. So pivoting a little bit to the team. So you mentioned you have this team that's helping you. You're handling the sales. You got a content strategist who's in there. They're using pretty much all the content tools, right? So
Yeah.
what's their day look like? Are they using the content genius? Are they using the topical maps? Like how are they building out their content roadmap for the client?
Yeah, so typically I've been handling that kind of on the front end by doing the content gap analysis and figuring out what everybody's competitors have that they maybe don't. So we present that to the client usually in the first 7 days once we onboard them. And then our content strategist is really just basically following the game plan. So other than that, it's basically just like following the SOP, getting everything ready to go. Now we're typically doing about 10 new pages a month at minimum for most of our clients to be able to close the
Solid.
gap at which the clients are typically trailing their competitors.
For sure. 10 a month is relatively high in the
Yep.
industry. Most
Yeah.
people are like 2 to 3. And so, you're going 3 times faster than them. What's the monthly retainer look like for your clients? What's the
So,
average?
yeah. So the average is around $2,000 a month. We have some that are paying 1,750, a couple paying 1,500, and then we have some clients that are paying a little bit more because we're also doing like Google ads and Facebook ads as well.
Awesome. So for them, for 2K a month, getting what are they getting? They're getting on-page optimization through auto. They're getting all the technical fixes. Are you doing anything on the backlink side?
So we are doing backlinks, just everything as far as like guest posting and outreach and link building with community. Like we have basically a community resources page that we're doing. So we're on their behalf reaching out to other local companies, trying to link back and forth there. We post once a week to the Google business profile as well. But to be honest, like, and this is where I've just been strategically kind of creating content is a lot with all the technology, with OTTO, with Search Atlas, all that stuff. It's not that much harder to do things the right way and do 10 pieces of content a month than it is to do 2 or 3. Like in all reality, it's not.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah. And so you might as well do 10, right?
Yeah.
Because, if you only put up 2 or 3, that's just way fewer documents that can rank on Google. So if you put up 10, you just get way more chances of being able to pick up local traffic. And so I imagine, are you guys building local specific service pages? Are you building local topical pages? Are you building like very niche down type of articles? What's the content strategy that you guys are following?
Yeah. So area served, like local location pages, then local service specific pages. So those are like the big things that we do for like 90% of our clients. Now, some of our clients don't even have a service page for every service they offer. Then we got to start there. But basically going in and doing that. And then also if like, for example, like a lot of our roofing clients do both roofing and commercial. So, or sorry, residential and commercial. So we would do like a residential roof repair to that city or suburb page, and then a commercial roof repair to that city or suburb page. So going deep and wide to be able to cover all the bases.
Cool. So inside like the website, within the content, the Google's going to find all the location specific entities that are the suburban cities, the sub-cities, the towns, right? You have all that content on the website, and you've got all their services as well, and content about the services. So you're also building out the topical map, topical authority around their specific like service that they're offering in their market, right? So
Yes.
so you're spiking the locality ranking signal, and you're also spiking the topical authority ranking signal, which is cool. And with 10 articles in a month, like that's a pretty good cadence to go at. So for these clients, even the roofers, I guess they're able to see results within 60 days.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing is like, if you think about it, right? So many agencies and where I was at previously, it's like 3 to 4 pages a month, and not all of them were quality, right? Some of them are random blogs and things like that. So if I have, 25 pages on my website, but the average competitor on the first page of Google has over 100, like that's just the average, it's likely that I'm going to need to get somewhere close to there in order to have a fighting chance to be able to do that. So if I build out 4 pages a month, well, that's going to be 20 months that I do that. Or I can do a minimum of 10. And then we're talking about 6 to 8 months, because some months we might do a little bit more to just spark the engine. And so the difference is, right, because as I've been more involved in the agency this time, explaining our process, right, and taking care of our clients in the first 90 days, so many people are worried about like profitability and all that stuff, which is super, super important. But they're trying to get by, like scraping by in the first 90 days with their clients, and then trying to upsell them on something more in the future. I'm so big on, if I tell you I'm going to do 10 pages in the first 90 days, we might do 15 or 20 just to wow you, and to you be like, oh my gosh, this is the best decision I've ever made. And so since we got started again, we've had one client go on pause for PPC. Knock on wood, no other clients cancel. But I was losing, an enormous amount of clients before with what we were dealing with. Right now, people are like, Adam, this is the best experience I've ever had with a vendor. You guys know what you're talking about. You're doing exactly what it is that you're saying. It's clear night and day. And these are people that have worked and done stuff with me in the past. Now, part of that is the power of personal branding, that people are like, I just want to be doing stuff with Adam. And it doesn't matter what the agency is. I want Adam. But the other part of it is the results that are coming along with it, what they're actually getting, and why it's so important to do things the way in which we're doing them.
Amazing, dude. That's incredible. Very few agencies I talk to can say that they've solved the retention side. Most agencies are struggling with that. They've got really bad churn. I personally know many of them that have kind of come to us and they're like, "Yo, we're really good at the sales side. We're just basically just trying to outsell our churn, and we know that we can outsell our churn because we've got a ton of leads. We're good at closing. We make promises maybe we can't keep, but we get them in the door, and they're coming in the door faster than they're leaving us."
Yeah.
And what you're doing, you can actually do both. You can actually have a massive funnel of leads coming in. You can also retain them by just over delivering in that first. I really say it starts in the first 30 days, delivering that moment of like, wow, I'm really glad I made this investment. It was smart. I'm seeing a payoff already. And then, if they're able to see like a tangible, meaningful business impact within your 30 to 60-day period, they're not going to churn on you. You might even have a customer for life if you have that big of an impact. So super cool to see you doing that and getting those kind of results with retention. So what are your goals for this year? Like, what do you think you guys are going to be able to grow to?
Yeah, so the initial goal was 1.5 million in top line revenue. I think that's where we're trying to progress towards. I think we should probably surpass that a little bit. But to be honest, like our main focus this year is about building out our processes and systems even deeper and stronger, building up my team to level up to where it's like, okay, this agency can actually run without Adam. It can sell without Adam. So like we sold 2 clients last week for the first time that I never talked to. That took me 3 years to do the first time, right? So there's a lot of things where we're getting to a new level for us, right? But for me, it's all about not growing too fast of, again, doing what we had done previously where it was growing too fast and we're outselling churn and we're just trying to like hit top line revenue. It's about profitability and getting results and delivering on what we sell.
Amazing. And what do you, so around, I guess, is a core part of the way that you guys do this, because for $2,000 to deliver all of that, it's a lot of deliverable and really not a lot of revenue, really, like when you think about how much they're getting. So how are you guys staying lean and being able to not like lose money on fulfilling campaigns like that? Because you don't want to lose money. You want your clients to get results at the same time. So you got to do a lot. How are you avoiding that outcome?
Yeah, well, I mean, like we're not churning clients, right? So it's a lot more expensive to go acquire and bring on new clients than it is to just keep your clients that you already have. So again, right, like we do reach an ascension plan where some clients have been with us, for example, since October, and all of a sudden we're kind of reaching the end of their content roadmap. We're going to do some different pieces of content, but the 10 pages doesn't go on honestly forever, right? It's a baseline of where we're trying to get them to reach the point of the result. So many people are fixated on these like deliverables of all these other things. Like clients will pay you for the results. They don't care if it's 10 pieces a month or it's one really, really good backlink. Like at the end of the day, whatever's going to move the needle needs to actually move the needle. Now, with that as well, right, it's about bringing on quality team members. So for example, I've worked with a lot of my team members in the past, and my team is all in Nicaragua. So I have really high quality team members that are getting paid very, very well for their local like vicinity of all those different things, but it's not US based stuff. So being able to build and manage and effectively have a culture with a remote team is super impactful as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're a fully remote team as well. And that's been great because we can find the best talent all over the world. We don't have to be localized to like one, American city geo. We're able to find people that, love SEO and they just happen to be, in Serbia or in like some country in Africa, but they love it and they're all in on it. So I'm sure we could probably talk for another hour just about hiring and firing and finding the right team members, what you look for. But we'll save that for another episode. In terms of like this year and what you're looking forward to next, like what's front of mind for you?
I think the biggest thing is just like having a full year under my belt running this agency again, right? So I grew an agency for 3 years, exited that last year, and it was kind of this identity crisis of having, to start over when I decided I was going to do that, it got to the point where it was just like, hey, I have to do this for myself and for my brand, right? Like so much of what I had built previously was on the backing of Adam McChesney. And so it had to be something that like I wasn't losing sleep over. It had to be something that like I knew ethics wise, core values wise, this is what I want to sell and what I want to go do. So I'm just excited about being able to have a year worth of stuff of full steam ahead, all builders of authority, doing things the right way, and having fun with it.
Amazing, dude. Yeah. And given your track record, given how it's gone so far, I can't wait to check in with you in a couple months and see what that looks like. And also like what you've learned, because each time it is a little bit different. And even today's times are different than they were a year or two ago. And so I think the future of what agencies look like is changing pretty fast. And I think we're going to start to see agencies that are really small, like maybe 2, 3, 4 people, having like hundreds of clients. Actually, I did a call with Eric Caldwell. We did a pod together, and Eric's a one-man band, and he's managing, I think he's at 200 local businesses. So just incredible to see how the model is shifting. Do you have any predictions for what you expect to change? And also, is SEO dead?
SEO is definitely not dead. I would say it's ever changing. And I would say it's easier to probably get things done, but maybe not get results. So there's a lot of different moving parts and pieces with SEO. You can do SEO and do it the wrong way or not have it be nearly as effective as the way in which it once was. I do believe that exactly what you said. There's going to be people that have massive agencies with very small workforce. I also believe that the best SEO agencies or marketing agencies moving forward are going to be more strategists and consultants and really tech specialists with AI than they are going to be like the best at pressing the button, because that's pretty much non-existent anymore.
I feel that for sure. And Adam, you're a pretty easy guy to find online. What are your preferred channels? We'll obviously put them in the show notes, but how can people kind of connect with you online?
Yeah. So the best way to connect with me is going to be on Facebook. You can just type in Adam McChesney. You'll see me with the red shirt with the red logo. We also have a free Facebook group called Builders of Authority, where I teach a lot of the personal branding strategies consistently. I teach about how we've used Search Atlas and things like that as well. And then you can also go to my website at adammcchesney.com.
Sweet. We'll put those in the show notes. Adam, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been super fun.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Absolutely.